What if I told you there's a truth so profound, so life-changing, that once you uncover it, the way you see everything, yourself, your purpose, and your reality will never be the same? That's exactly what we're diving into today. This isn't just a message, it's a revelation, one that holds the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of who you really are. And there's a reason the universe has brought you here right now. Maybe you've felt it, that sense that there's something more to life, that the answers you've been searching for are just out of reach. Well, let me tell you, your timing is no accident. You're about to discover why your sense of self is not what it seems, how the illusions of the ego have shaped your perspective, and why the awareness within you is far more powerful than you've been led to believe. This message is your call to awaken, to step into a cosmic truth that connects you to something much larger than yourself. If this resonates with you, don't hold back. Declare it in the comments. I'm ready to listen, or I'm chosen by God. This is your moment to receive clarity, empowerment, and the courage to step into the divine reality of who you truly are. Ready to see yourself and your life in a completely new light. The world insists on defining you. It hands you a name, a story, a set of expectations. You become a collection of labels: son, daughter, friend, achiever, failure. Over time, you weave these pieces together into something you call me. But what if that me is nothing more than a mask, a clever illusion built by the mind to navigate the world? Beneath it lies something far greater, something infinite, your true essence. This illusion is persistent, and it shapes the way you see yourself. Think about it. Every thought, every memory, every fleeting emotion feels like a thread in the fabric of your identity. You hear the inner dialogue, that constant chatter of judgment, comparison, and fear. But here's the profound truth. You are not the voice in your head. You're the one listening to it. The Bible reveals this truth in Colossians 3 verse 3. For you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God. This isn't about physical death. It's the surrender of the false self, the ego, that clings to worldly definitions. Your life, your real life, is not in the labels you wear, but in the divine awareness within you. Imagine yourself as the ocean. Each wave rises and falls, much like your thoughts and emotions. They appear separate and distinct, yet they are always part of the same vast ocean. The waves cannot exist without the ocean, and the ocean remains unchanged regardless of how the waves behave. In the same way, your true self, the awareness behind all experiences, remains untouched by the highs and lows of life. This is why Jesus said in Matthew 16 verse 25, "For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it." To lose your life is to let go of the illusion, the ego-driven identity, and to awaken to the eternal presence within. Practically, this starts with observation. The next time a thought or feeling arises, don't fight it or get carried away by it. Instead, ask yourself, who is noticing this? You'll find that the observer, the awareness, remains constant no matter what's happening. This realization is the beginning of freedom, a way to break the cycle of identifying with every passing thought and emotion. Now consider this. How often have you felt trapped by the stories your mind creates? I'm not good enough. I'll never be successful. I'm always alone. These are not truths. They are echoes of a false self desperate to stay in control. When you see them for what they are, they lose their power. The ego, which thrives on fear and separation, clings to these stories. It whispers that you're defined by what you've done or failed to do. But the ego is like a shadow. It looks real until you shine the light of awareness on it. Shadows cannot withstand light. Scripture offers reassurance in 2 Corinthians 5 verse 17. If anyone is in Christ, The new creation has come. The old is gone. The new is here. This is the promise of renewal, of stepping beyond the illusion and into the truth of your divine essence. Each day, you have the opportunity to live from this awareness, to see your thoughts, emotions, and experiences as waves passing through, while you, the ocean, remain steady and eternal. This isn't something to achieve, it's something to remember. You've always been this awareness. The waves, the stories, the labels, they were never the fullness of who you are. This awareness is where your true strength lies, unshaken by the storms of life. From this space, you can begin to experience the peace and clarity that come with knowing who you truly are. Your life might feel like a series of waves, sometimes calm, other times turbulent, rising and falling without warning. These waves can feel overwhelming, shaping your perception of who you are. But what if you could see beyond the surface, past the ever-changing motion, and into the stillness beneath? The ocean, vast and unshaken, offers a powerful analogy for understanding your true nature. Each wave, no matter how distinct or dramatic, is never separate from the ocean. It may rise high, crash fiercely, or ripple gently, but it remains water, part of the same infinite whole. In the same way, your thoughts, emotions, and experiences are waves on the surface of your awareness. They may seem overwhelming or important, but they are not separate from the deeper, unchanging essence of who you are. This truth is reflected in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Your awareness is eternal, untouched by the chaos above. It's the still, infinite ocean that remains steady regardless of the storms. When the waves of life rise, be it through joy, sorrow, fear, or anger, they demand your attention. It's easy to get caught up in their intensity, believing they define you. But just as the ocean is not diminished by the waves, you are not defined by the thoughts or emotions that pass through you. They are temporary, while you, the awareness beneath them, are eternal. Picture yourself standing at the shore, watching the waves crash against the sand. You don't try to control them, you simply observe. This is the same approach you can take with your inner world. Instead of wrestling with every thought or feeling, simply notice them. Who is watching the waves? That watcher is your true self, calm, expansive, and grounded in divine presence. Jesus spoke of this steadiness in John 14 verse 27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. This peace isn't about the absence of waves. It's about knowing that beneath the surface, your essence remains undisturbed. The ocean and waves analogy also highlights the interconnectedness of all life. Just as no wave exists independently of the ocean, no individual exists in isolation. We are all part of the same vast awareness, expressions of the divine flowing through unique forms. This understanding can dissolve the illusion of separation, reminding you that you are never alone. When life feels overwhelming, return to this analogy. Close your eyes and imagine the ocean. Feel its depth, its stillness, and its immensity. Picture your thoughts and emotions as waves, rising and falling, but always connected to the source. This practice can bring clarity and calm, helping you navigate even the stormiest moments. The waves may rise, and the storms may rage, but the ocean remains. This is the truth of your being. No matter what you face, the divine awareness within you is steady, unshaken, and infinite. It's not about suppressing the waves, but understanding that they are not all there is. Every wave you experience is an opportunity to reconnect with the ocean. With each rise and fall, You are invited to remember the depth of your essence, to ground yourself in the eternal, and to trust that the stillness beneath will always carry you. Thoughts race through your mind, weaving stories about who you are and what your life means. Emotions rise and fall, pulling you into their tides, making you feel elated one moment and weighed down the next. It's easy to believe these thoughts and emotions define you, but the truth is they're not you. They're fleeting, like clouds drifting across the sky, while your true self is the unchanging sky itself, vast, eternal, and untouched. Have you ever noticed how a thought can seem all-consuming, only to vanish minutes later as if it were never there? Or how an emotion can feel overwhelming, but with time, fades into the background? This transience reveals their nature. They're visitors, passing through your awareness, but they are not the essence of who you are. The Bible offers a profound reminder in 2 Corinthians 4 verse 18. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Your thoughts and emotions are part of what is seen, temporary and fleeting. But the awareness that notices them, that unseen presence, is eternal. Imagine sitting beside a river, watching the water flow by. Each thought and emotion is like a leaf floating downstream. You might be tempted to grab the leaf, to hold on to it or analyze it. But what happens if you just let it drift? The river continues to flow, and you remain still, observing. This is the nature of awareness, to watch without attachment, to remain steady while the flow continues. In moments of frustration or fear, it's easy to feel as though your thoughts and emotions are in control. But pause for a second and ask yourself, who is noticing this frustration? Who is aware of this fear? The very act of asking shifts your focus from being consumed by the experience to observing it. And in that shift, you find freedom. Jesus touched on this in Matthew 6 verse 34. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Worry, like all thoughts, is temporary. It comes and goes, but you don't have to let it define you. By recognizing it as a passing wave, you can anchor yourself in the peace of the present moment. Thoughts and emotions often act as distractions, pulling you away from the stillness within. The ego thrives on this chaos, convincing you that you are the stories it spins. But when you step back, when you observe rather than engage, the ego loses its grip. This isn't about suppressing your thoughts or denying your emotions. It's about seeing them for what they are, impermanent ripples on the surface of your being. Practicality matters here. When a thought arises that stirs anxiety or doubt, try labeling it. Say to yourself, this is just a thought about failure, or this is just anger passing through. Naming it creates distance, reminding you that it's not who you are. In Psalm 46 verse 10, we're reminded, be still and know that I am God. This stillness isn't the absence of thought, but the presence of awareness. It's a return to the core of your being, where you are grounded in divine peace, untouched by the noise of the mind. The more you practice this, the clearer it becomes. Your thoughts and emotions are tools, not masters. They don't define you, they serve you. And as you step into this awareness, you begin to experience life not as a series of battles with the mind, but as an unfolding of divine grace. The ego is a master storyteller. It spins a tale of who you are, based on your past, your fears, and the opinions of others. It whispers, you're not enough, or you need more to be worthy. This story might feel real because it's so persistent, but the truth is, the ego is nothing more than a construct, a mask you've worn for so long that you've forgotten it's not your true face. At its core, the ego is a survival mechanism. It clings to labels and achievements, fearing that without them, it will cease to exist. It defines itself through separation. I am this. I am not that. But this division is the root of so much pain. When you believe the ego's story, you live in a constant state of comparison and struggle, striving for something that will never truly satisfy. In Galatians 2 verse 20, the Bible says, I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. This verse is not about losing yourself, but about shedding the ego's illusions. When the ego's false identity dies, the true self, rooted in divine awareness, emerges. Think of the ego as a house of mirrors. Everywhere you turn, you see a distorted reflection, convincing you that this warped image is who you are. The mirror says you're too small, too flawed, too unworthy. But step outside the house, and you'll see the truth. You were never the distortion. You were always the light, unbroken and whole. How do you break free from this illusion? Start by noticing the stories your ego tells. When you hear, I'm not good enough, or they're better than me, pause and ask, who is hearing this? By observing the ego, you step into the role of the witness, and the ego's grip begins to loosen. Jesus modeled this freedom when he said in John 8 verse 32, Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. The truth is that you are not your achievements, your failures, or your fears. You are divine awareness, inseparable from God's presence. The ego thrives on division, not just within yourself, but in how you view the world. It creates an us versus them mindset, fueling conflict and misunderstanding. But when you see through the ego's illusion, you begin to recognize the oneness in all things. The person you once envied or judged is no longer a rival, but a reflection of the same divine source within you. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones. Each stone represents an ego-driven belief. I must prove myself. I need more to be happy. I can't let anyone see my flaws. Now imagine setting the backpack down. What happens? You feel lighter, freer, unburdened. That's what breaking the illusion of the ego feels like, releasing the weight of stories that no longer serve you. In practical terms, this means practicing self-inquiry. When you feel triggered or defensive, ask yourself, is this my true self responding, or is this the ego clinging to its story? The more you do this, the more you align with your awareness rather than the illusions. The Bible reminds us in Philippians 4 verse 13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This strength doesn't come from the ego's striving, but from surrendering to the truth of who you are, a vessel of divine power and love. Each moment offers a choice, to believe the ego's story or to rest in your true essence. As you choose awareness over illusion, you'll find a peace that surpasses understanding, a strength that doesn't depend on external validation. This is the freedom you've been seeking all along. The idea of being a separate self feels so ingrained, doesn't it? You've been told that you're an individual, defined by your experiences, accomplishments, and relationships. But this sense of separateness is the root of so much suffering, loneliness, fear, the endless striving to prove yourself. What if this self isn't as real as it seems? What if life is not happening to you, but through you, as a part of something much greater? To live without a separate self is to recognize that you are not an isolated being, but a boundless awareness. Imagine the waves of the ocean again. A single wave might feel distinct, rising and falling, crashing on the shore. But it's always part of the ocean, inseparable from the vastness beneath. That's what life without a separate self looks like, flowing with the understanding that you and the universe are one. This is what Jesus pointed to when he said in John 17 verse 21, that all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. Oneness is not just a spiritual concept. It's the very essence of existence. The walls of separateness, me versus them, mine versus yours, begin to dissolve when you step into this truth. When you cling to the illusion of separateness, fear becomes a constant companion. You worry about losing what you have or not becoming what you think you should be. But when you realize there is no separate self to protect, the fear loses its power. What remains is trust. Trust in the flow of life, trust in divine timing, and trust that you are exactly where you need to be. Living without a separate self doesn't mean abandoning your individuality. It means seeing individuality as an expression of the whole, like a single thread in a magnificent tapestry. Each thread is unique, yet all are woven together to create something beautiful. Your uniqueness is not separate from the divine. It's a reflection of it. Think about the struggles you've faced. Every heartbreak, every failure, every moment of doubt has felt personal, hasn't it? But what if these moments weren't happening to you, but were instead unfolding as part of a larger divine plan? In Romans 8, verse 28, we're reminded, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. When you let go of the need to control or define your life, you start to see how every experience has shaped you, guided you, and brought you closer to truth. Practical steps can help bring this understanding into your daily life. The next time you feel tension, whether it's in a conversation, a decision, or even within yourself, pause. Take a deep breath and ask, am I reacting from a sense of separateness, or am I responding from awareness? This question shifts your perspective from defending the self to embracing unity. To live without a separate self is to be unborn, not in the physical sense, but in the understanding that the self you thought you were, the one defined by limits and labels, was never the real you. What you truly are has no beginning and no end. This way of living liberates you from the cycle of fear and suffering. Without the need to protect a separate self, you become open to love, open to forgiveness, open to the divine flow of life. You no longer see yourself as a drop in the ocean, but as the ocean in a drop, infinite and interconnected. Every step you take in this awareness brings you closer to the peace that surpasses understanding. Not because you've added something to your life, but because you've let go of what was never real. To live as unbound awareness is to step beyond the illusions of self, ego, and separation into the fullness of life itself. This is the space where fear dissolves, where suffering fades, and where you come to know that life doesn't start or end. It simply is. When you understand this, everything changes. The endless pursuit of meaning, the fear of loss, and the need to prove yourself begin to fall away. What replaces them is peace, a peace that surpasses understanding, not because you've added anything to your life, but because you've let go of what was never real. In 2 Corinthians 3 verse 17, we're reminded, now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. This freedom isn't about escaping life's challenges. It's about living without the chains of fear, ego, and separation. It's about experiencing the vastness of life as it flows through you, untouched by the illusions of the mind. Picture a bird in flight. It doesn't think about the air that carries it. It simply moves, trusting the flow. Life as unbound awareness is much the same. You stop resisting the current and begin to move with it, knowing that every twist and turn has its place in the divine tapestry. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect or pain-free. Challenges still arise, but they no longer define you. Instead of seeing them as barriers, you see them as opportunities to deepen your connection to the divine. As Romans 5 verses 3 to 4 says, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. Living as unbound awareness also shifts how you see others. No longer separate, no longer adversaries. They become reflections of the same divine essence that flows through you. Their pain, their joy, their humanity, it's all part of the same unbroken whole. In practical terms, this means letting go of judgment. The next time you find yourself criticizing someone, whether silently or aloud, pause. Ask yourself, am I seeing them as separate, or am I recognizing the divine within them? This shift in perspective doesn't just transform how you relate to others. It transforms how you see yourself. This awareness also changes how you navigate the unknown. When you trust that life is unfolding exactly as it should, uncertainty becomes less daunting. Proverbs 3 verse 5 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." It's this trust that allows you to embrace the mystery of life, knowing that you are supported by something infinite. Every moment becomes an invitation to rest in the awareness of what you truly are, boundless, timeless, and free. This doesn't mean rejecting the world or the roles you play within it. Instead, it means engaging fully, knowing that these roles are expressions of the divine, not limitations. Imagine standing on the shore of an endless ocean. The waves rise and fall, the tide comes and goes, but the ocean remains. This is the truth of your being. You are not the waves. You are the vastness that holds them. The ego may fight against this understanding, whispering that you're losing yourself. But in truth, you're gaining everything. You're stepping into the fullness of life, free from the need to cling, resist, or define. This awareness is your birthright. It's not something you earn or achieve. It's something you've always been. Now it's simply time to remember. Now that you've glimpsed the truth, that you are not your thoughts, your ego, or even the self you've always identified with. The question is, how will you let this awareness transform your life? Will you continue to let the waves of fear, doubt, and separation dictate your story? Or will you step into the vastness of who you truly are, unbound, eternal, and free? The Bible reminds us in Philippians 4 verse 7, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." That peace is not something you need to find. It's already within you. The more you let go of the illusions that weigh you down, the more you'll feel the peace radiating through your life. Take a moment right now. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and allow yourself to feel the stillness that's always been there. That stillness isn't empty. It's full of divine presence. It's your true nature calling you to rise above the noise of the mind and live as awareness itself. This understanding doesn't mean life will always be easy, but it does mean you'll face challenges from a place of strength and clarity. You'll know that every storm, every wave, is just passing through, unable to shake the foundation of who you are. If this message resonated with you, take it as a sign that this is your time to step into deeper alignment with your purpose. Declare it in the comments below. I am unbound. I am free. I am chosen by God. Let this be a moment of transformation, a signal to the universe that you're ready to live as the fullness of who you are. Don't let this message stop here. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. You never know how this truth could change their perspective or lighten their burdens. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel so you won't miss the messages that are guiding you toward your highest self. You were guided here for a reason. Trust that, and let the awareness of your true self shape the way you move forward. The journey is already unfolding, perfectly aligned with divine timing.